Just a quick thank you to everyone who's been using my EA creator code. It really means a lot. If you're picking up new Sims 4 packs, just enter SimmerySims as the promo code at checkout in the EA app or on the Sims website and click apply. It won't give you a discount, but it is a totally free way to support me and my channel. Thank you again, and happy simming! Hi friends, welcome to my channel and welcome to another speed build. So for today's video, I'm back with another Enchanted by Nature build, of course, but this time I actually have full access to the pack, obviously, because it is now officially out. And I get to build a house including all the packs, so not just base game and Enchanted by Nature, but all the packs. That's also probably why this video ended up being so long. This is a pretty big build, like it took me a minute to build and decorate this one. So I hope you have a snack, I hope you have something to drink, because we're gonna be here for a little bit. It is a pretty big build. And I was so excited to sit down actually and build with Enchanted by Nature and and my other packs, because immediately when I got my hands on this pack, I just knew it was going to combine so well with a couple of different packs actually. One of those being cottage living, but also I feel like life and death would be really cool, and I did use a few life and death items in here as well. Also crystal creations, paranormal. I didn't actually end up using a lot of paranormal. I think I ended up using a couple of items, but I did create an entire room for gemology in this house too, like a fun hobby room kind of thing. So that was a really cool thing to combine, but especially cottage living I feel like was so fun to combine with this one. I gave them a little garden in the back as well. I actually didn't end up having a lot of space left for like a garden. My first initial thought for this house, like I just sat down and started building. I didn't really have any inspiration for this. I did go on Pinterest and I like scrolled through some like fairy tale houses and whatnot, and I found a couple of them that were like really cute, so I guess that kind of inspired me to start building a larger house, but nothing in particular to really copy or work off of. And my initial thought was to actually sort of build a fairy like farmhouse type of thing. It kind of happened, but I didn't have a lot of space left on the lot. Like I said, we're building on, I think this is a 40 by 40, but I could be wrong. It is a pretty spacious lot, and the house just ended up being pretty big as well. I wanted to do like a cool round tower. I thought that would be so fun. And then I actually also added a bunch of bump outs that are also using all rounded walls. I feel like this expansion pack has kind of re-sparked my love for round walls in this game, even though they're kind of cursed. Like they're definitely a little glitchy. I did encounter various bugs when I was building with the round walls, but I decided to ignore them, and you know, it looks pretty good. One of them I turned into like a sort of like a sunroom area with a glass wallpaper. It's absolutely so dreamy, and I just really like how this one came together. But yeah, the tower was a fun touch. I actually didn't end up using the third floor, like the top floor of the tower. I could have, but I ended up building or decorating a nursery on the second floor in the round like tower portion of the floor plan. And I could have put a ladder in there, but it just didn't really end up working out. I did try it, but it was a little bit too random. I had to have the ladder like in the middle of the space because there was only round walls in the room, and it just like, it wasn't really gonna work. So obviously if you are playing with fairies in this house, you don't necessarily need to have a ladder, I don't think, because you can just fly instantly, and that's sort of the same as like teleporting. So I guess if you wanted to have like a secret fairy room or whatever up there, then you could definitely have that, but I decided not to actually utilize that space. But for the rest, yeah, this house, I guess you could describe it as a whimsical family house. I guess that's basically what it is. I was trying to think of another word there, but you know, I was gonna say that maybe it's pretty luxurious, but it's not necessarily luxurious. It is just spacious. We have a bunch of bedrooms. I think this house ends up having 5 bedrooms total. Let me count. We have the main parents' bedroom, we have the teens' bedroom, a kid's room, a nursery, and then an extra bedroom. So that's 5 bedrooms total. That's actually crazy. I don't think I've ever, well, I mean, I've probably done that before, but not normally for my, I guess, regular family houses. So it was kind of fun to have a lot of space in this one and actually have the space for 5 bedrooms. That was pretty cool. And then I think we ended up having 3 bathrooms total. We only have one little like half bath downstairs, but then upstairs we have a hall bathroom and also a Jack and Jill in between the parents and the teens bedroom. So that's a little bit of an interesting placement for a Jack and Jill. I can only imagine the drama that'll take place when the teenager has to share a bathroom with their parents and it's a Jack and Jill. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of funny for like some chaotic, moody teen gameplay. In my brain, the teenager in this family is definitely moody because, I don't know, I just gave them a really like goth kind of inspired bedroom with using a lot of the high school years items that really matched well with the vibe and like the whimsicalness of this build too. So that was a really fun thing to experience, I guess, when trying to mix and match different packs. And yeah, so I also created some ponds here around the house as well, and I was just having a lot of fun with roofing. There is something about the more like rounded roofs that I'm really enjoying, like the whimsical rounded roofs. I don't know, I've been using them for my early access builds with this pack as well, which by the way, all those are up on the gallery now as well, in case you missed my little post on my community tab, but my 3 builds that I did in early access are up on the gallery. And those use only base game and the new pack, so they're fairly easy to download if you do have the new pack, that is. Then you can just go ahead and grab them. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, because of that reason, I did not restrict myself in any way, shape, or form with this one. I'm using so many packs, like the most random of things. I think I even used Batu in here, so there is that. I make it my life's work to avoid using Batu, which I personally really love Journey to Batu, the game pack. I think it's really fun and just different, and I like the gameplay, and the items are really pretty and like well done. And I feel like if you have that pack, it's worth trying to combine it with this pack, like with Enchanted by Nature, because I feel like it works really well. I do make it my life's mission to avoid using it because not a lot of people have that pack. So, you know, I don't really do a lot of restricted pack builds, but I will always just simply not use Journey to Batu. I don't know. It's kind of like become a habit at this point to just avoid it, even though I really love it. But I think I ended up using at least 1 item from Journey to Batu here in this house. So I didn't even restrict myself when it comes to that one pack. So yeah, I used everything and all the fun little combinations of things. But here you can see I am placing some windows on the house. It was not easy because I had a lot of round walls to work with, and we don't have a lot of windows that work particularly well on like the more curved like round walls. I'm using the smallest round wall, if that makes sense, for this house for the most part, and not a lot of windows work on those. So yeah, I'm using a bunch of those really small ones from the new pack, and I combined them with mostly windows from Cottage Living actually, and I've been wanting to do that ever since I got my hands on this pack. So I was finally living my dream and just like using some Cottage Living stuff on here. Then also a bunch of vines. I did find that the vines from the new pack that work perfectly with the new doors and windows, when you place them over top of your doors, which I did for the front door in this house, your Sims can no longer walk through the door. So that's very upsetting because I feel like those vines work perfectly shape-wise. Like they're supposed to go over those windows or over those doors, I feel. Maybe not, and maybe they're just meant to go over the windows, but you know that people will just place them over the doors too because it fits perfectly and it looks so whimsical and cute. But yeah, unfortunately it blocks the door from being functional and your Sims can't actually walk through them anymore. So I did have to go and delete the vines from the door, but that's okay. I also placed those vines over the doors in my early access builds, but I did go through and delete them, I think, for all of them, but I could be wrong. But yeah, just know that if you have issues with your doors and you placed vines from the new pack specifically, then that's probably what's causing it, and it's a little bit upsetting. I really hope they fix it at some point. But speaking of vines, you can tell that I was kind of going crazy here. I used a lot of them. I also used some of the wisteria from Cottage Living. I used the vines from Jungle Adventure on the tower with those gorgeous red pinkish flowers. I think those are so pretty. And I just had a ton of fun landscaping this. I really like my little ponds that I created, kind of like attached to the house, if you could say it like that. I just think that looks so fun. It's kind of like a cottage look and feel, especially with that wheel. I don't know what the word is. I am probably making a fool of myself right now, but like that little mill wheel, water wheel kind of thing that I placed up against the tower in the water. I just think that that's so cool. It also rotates in like in live mode, so that's really fun, a little fun detail for the house as well. And then for the rest, you can see that I really did not have a lot of space left here on the lot when it comes to garden space, but I did create a fenced in garden area where I placed a bunch of plots later on, and I also ended up placing some bees because I thought that would be really fun. I also ended up placing the cottage living bunny tree thingy and the birds. I don't know if I placed the birds. I don't think I placed the birds. I think just the bunnies, but those are so cute. And then here I was just going crazy with some debug, mostly Enchanted by Nature debug landscaping as well, to really make it feel very lush and overgrown, and like I wanted this to look like a very old house, like a house that's been really well taken care of, but it's probably been in the family for generations on end. So I thought that would be like a really fun thing to make the house feel very, you know, like it has a lot of character to it. I didn't necessarily use any like mold or anything because I feel like they really have been taking care of the house. And there's probably a little bit of magic involved there as well. I used a few things from the Realm of Magic pack. That's one of the packs that I also have been very excited about trying to combine with Enchanted by Nature. And I feel like Realm of Magic works really nicely as well. Also, I just feel like spellcasters and fairies are a fun mix of occults, gameplay-wise, lore-wise. I feel like they just really click somehow, especially in this neighborhood. We're building in the neighborhood of Spruceberry Grove, which is the apothecary, foresty, green kind of whimsical neighborhood in the in Innisgreen from Enchanted by Nature. So I feel like, I don't know, I just really feel like spellcasters fit in this world. And I think what makes me so happy about it, I have been like talking about this on stream and like kind of trying to see why I'm so excited about this, but I feel like this pack is finally scratching that itch that Realm of Magic never was able to scratch. I was very excited about the idea of Realm of Magic, but when it actually came out, I just wasn't obsessed with Glimmerbrook, the world. I was not obsessed with the build buy. It was a little bit too, I don't know, I guess just not whimsical enough. I feel like it was a little bit too formal. I'm not sure if that's the right word to describe it, but I never find myself using items from Realm of Magic because it's just not the whimsical, magical vibes that I was hoping for when that pack came out and that I was kind of craving when you think about magic in The Sims. And this pack made me realize that this vibe is what I was wishing for, like what I was kind of hoping for and maybe low-key expecting when Realm of Magic came out. And now that we have this, I'm just so excited to finally like use all the whimsy, fun, magical, enchanted, like, I don't know, like little items in my builds and just kind of go for that magical touch that I've been craving to do. I also feel like a lot of these items will go so nicely with my Harry Potter inspired build series that I've been doing. I started that last year and I definitely still want to keep going, so I think that would be really fun to use this for as well. So yeah, I am just overall very excited about this pack still, and now that it's out and people have had a chance to play with it, I would love to hear your opinion on it. Like, if you have it, are you enjoying it? Is it your cup of tea? Maybe it's not your cup of tea at all. Like, I wanna know. Because I'm really enjoying the pack so far. I will say I'm excited to see what happens over the upcoming weeks. Because obviously everything is very new and shiny, and it's just exciting to use the new world and build with the new items. Like, it's just all very fun and new. At some point that will kind of fade, you know, and then I'm not sure, because I'm not an occult player or builder for that matter at all. I barely ever build for occults. I will sometimes, but I never play with occults really. Well, that has changed over these past few weeks. Actually, it definitely has changed even before this pack was announced. I'm playing Not So Very over on Twitch, and I have been playing with a plant sim. I've been playing with a werewolf. It was not necessarily you know, something I wanted to do, but the sim that my sim married ended up being a dormant wolf. And then at some point I was like, well, you know, we might as well just awaken the werewolf in her and have some chaos and like have some fun with that. So that's what we did. But, you know, yeah, I guess that's how like occults have kind of been sprinkled into my gameplay for these past few weeks or months even maybe. But with fairies, there's just something about it. I just have a lot of fun with them. And like I said, I wonder if that will stick or not. Maybe it will inspire me to do some more whimsical, like occult builds for different occults too. Maybe that's something I'm going to want to do, but that's kind of fun actually. Let me know. Is there any other type of occult? And then specifically which occult and what type of house or what type of builds would you like to see? Definitely let me know, because I feel like I may have entered my occult build era a little bit, and we should make the most of it, because like I said, I don't know how long it's going to last for. So if you're an occult player, let me know what you love to see and for which occult, and I will see if I can sprinkle it in. But yeah, here you can see I am kind of about done with the exterior for this build and also the landscaping. I ended up placing some chickens to still kind of have those farmhouse vibes, I guess, for this build. So that was kind of fun. We have some chickens, and we just ended up having a nice garden and also some just like potted plants and stuff outside. And then we're moving on to the interior of this build. And as you can see probably already, this house is pretty massive. The floor plan took me ages, and I did have to cut out the footage of that from the speed build because it was so messy and I was just going back and forth a gazillion times, and it was just not good footage to use in a speed build. So I did have to cut that out, but you can kind of tell a little bit what the floor plan looks like. Essentially, we just have this really large, or not landing, entryway, and then attached to it is that sunroom, and that sunroom ends up being like a little hobby space with a grand piano and an easel as well. We also have in the tower downstairs, we have a little apothecary skill building room. So we have that downstairs as well. And then we also ended up having a gemology room downstairs. So there's actually plenty of skill building items like activities in this house, which is something that I really wanted because I thought it'd be really fun. We have space for a bunch of sims. So also, you know, every sim probably has a different hobby or passion or job, you know, for that matter. So I felt like it'd be fun to have a bunch of different activities here. So obviously we have gardening outside and then apothecary. I feel like one of the parents in this house is probably an apothecary sim, apothecarer. I don't know what the word for that is, but I feel like maybe one of the parents does apothecary and they're in the naturopath career as well. I think that would be really fun, and they maybe welcome, like receive clients at home. That's not how you say that either. For some reason, I can't speak English today, but you probably know what I mean. They'll get the clients at home and then they'll help them out and make cures and whatnot. So it's kind of helpful to have that room right by the front door so the clients or the customers don't really have to, or patients, I should probably say, the patients don't have to walk through the entire house to get to the apothecary room. So it's kind of right there by the front door, which is really nice. Then in the back, like I said, we have that gemology room. Maybe one of the parents is a gemologist. Is that how you say that? Like I said, I cannot speak English for the life of me today. I don't know what it is. But yeah, maybe one of the parents creates jewelry and gemstones and all those things, and maybe they sell those. Or maybe they have like healing powers or something. Because I was definitely thinking that one of the parents in this house would be a spellcaster. So I think one of the parents would be a spellcaster. The other one is probably a fairy. And then they have 3 children, a teenager, a kid, and an infant. And I was actually thinking 4 children, but one of them is older and they don't live at home anymore. And that's why we have an extra bedroom in the house. You can kind of tell that I furnished it in a way where it looks like no one currently uses it. There's just like a bunch of boxes in there. Also still some furniture, but it's not very personalized anymore. So someone has definitely moved out of that room, probably off to university. And I couldn't help but think of just like some sort of like Winx Club university type thing that they would be off to. Like that person's in fairy school. That person is just like probably like a very talented, very gifted fairy. Or maybe, and this is like kind of going beyond what we can do in the game, but maybe they're like a very rare hybrid between a spellcaster and a fairy, and that's really rare or something. Maybe that doesn't really happen very often, even when you have a spellcaster and a fairy for parents or as parents. It's something very rare that doesn't happen very often. So maybe they are a fairy with extra special gifts, and that's why they were accepted into some kind of wings club, you know, just like fairy school for gifted, exceptionally gifted fairies or something like that, that's really difficult to get into or something like that. That's kind of what I was imagining. So the oldest teenager maybe, or like teenager going young adult, is away at school, and then we have a teenager in this house who still lives here, and they are the complete opposite of their sibling. I feel like their sibling, the oldest one that's off to Wings Club, is very gifted and like positive and like a good fairy, and they want to use their gifts and talents to do good in the world. And then there's the teenager in this household still, or in this house still living, that's very moody and dark, and they gravitate towards more maybe like dark magic. I do think that they're a fairy, maybe not a fairy spellcaster hybrid, and that's kind of why they're like a little maybe like jealous of their sibling in a way where, you know, it's probably not jealous, but that's just kind of how it like shows itself. But they're probably very insecure and like maybe a little scared that they won't be as good as their sibling. Maybe they feel pressure to always do better, you know, that type of thing. And that kind of manifests itself in the fact that they're like a very gloomy, kind of moody teenager that doesn't really want to have a lot to do with their parents or their sibling. And I'm sure they'll come around. Like, I'm sure it'll all be okay, but that's kind of what I was thinking of for their storyline as of right now, like this current moment. And you can really tell in their bedroom, they're a little bit of a rebel. Their bedroom is goth inspired. It's very black. There's some purple and like just very dark colors. Also some dark blue. I use a lot of high school years furniture in there, which was really just a really good match. And I didn't really expect that, but that was really fun. So that's the teenager in the house. They also have a guitar in their room. So maybe they're very much into music, and they're just kind of pretending that they don't want to have anything to do with magic or fairy magic or nothing like that. Maybe they're at that point in their life where they're like, I wish I was normal, and I wish I wasn't a fairy and I didn't have to put up with all this stuff in my family, and I don't want this. And maybe they are actually researching how to become non-occult. Like maybe that's what they want to do actually, and maybe that's what they'll end up doing. But they're kind of scared that maybe their parents wouldn't be proud of them anymore, or maybe their parents wouldn't approve, and that's kind of what's going on in their world, you know. But of course the parents would always be proud of the kid, and like it's in my brain the storyline would end up being very wholesome. But you know, we have like a little bit of a troubled, I guess, teenager in this household is what I was trying to say with a lot of words right there. And then we also have a kid who's just, I didn't really have a specific personality in mind for them, but I guess going off of their bedroom, it's very colorful and bright, and just very happy and fun. So I think they're also a fairy. And they just really take after their oldest sibling, but I don't think they're a fairy spellcaster hybrid either. I think they're either just a spellcaster or just a fairy. I'm not exactly sure which one, but they do have a lot of like fairy related toys and things in their bedroom. Maybe they are a spellcaster, but they want to be a fairy, or maybe they just don't know yet. You know, like it's kind of fun. Maybe it'll just, you won't be able to tell until they're a little bit older. That's also maybe a thing. I know that's not a thing in the game. I think in the game you can basically right off the bat tell, like when they're an infant, you can kind of tell, I think. I'm not sure, but I think that's the case. But yeah, there's like a little kid in the household as well, and I think they're just like very happy and fun and colorful and just, you know, very cheerful. And then of course there is the infant, which is really cute. And the infant is just a baby. You know, the infant's just a baby. They're just hanging out. They're just being a baby and just being cute. So that's kind of what I had in mind for the storyline for this one. So very whimsical, magical, all types of different magic in this house, potentially some dark magic. Or maybe the teenager is not a fairy and they're a spellcaster and they're like dabbling into dark magic without their parents knowing about it, something like that. But I feel like there could be something fun going on, you know, something a little bit chaotic and different going on with the teenager there compared to their older sibling, who is basically like a wonder child, spellcaster, fairy hybrid, rare, magic, powerful person. You know, that's kind of what I was imagining here. But I'm completely talking over the entire furnishing of this house. So yeah, we did the hallway and all the things. There's a beautiful hobby room in there with a grand piano and a easel as well. And I was actually thinking that maybe the teenager would be into painting as well. So maybe they're leaning more artistic. So maybe they also play the piano and they paint, because they do have a guitar in their bedroom. So maybe they're musical and like creative in that sense. And the sunroom was a perfect spot for like an easel and stuff. I think that would just be the most magical, pun not intended, space to actually do some painting, and just, it's very inspiring. And then here off of the living and dining room, we have the kitchen. And I was having, like, I needed to work with a lot of round walls here, which was definitely pushing me out of my comfort zone a little bit, because I barely ever use round walls. They're pretty difficult to, I feel like, work into your floor plan. At least in my opinion, I always find it a little bit difficult. Maybe it's because I don't use them very often, but I always find it a little tricky. But for the kitchen, it was actually pretty nice. It gave me this space here where I could do a little breakfast nook with a 2-seater table and then a love seat. Sims can't actually sit on that love seat and then use the table. That doesn't work, but they obviously can use the 2 chairs and then use the table and have breakfast or lunch or a snack in the little breakfast nook over there. I also used a dining table as an island in the kitchen. I really wanted to have a kitchen island, but it wasn't really going to work out with counters. It just looked a little bit strange and it just was not good. So someone in chat, when I was decorating this on Twitch, someone in chat suggested, why not put a dining table in the middle of the kitchen sort of as an island? And I thought that was absolutely perfect. It gave me a lot of space here to clutter up the kitchen as well, because this is a family home after all. So I wanted it to be kind of messy in that sense, just like a lot of stuff lying around, especially in the kitchen. The rest of the house is not that messy. It's definitely cluttered and lived in, but it's not like super messy or anything. But in the kitchen here, I kind of really wanted to go crazy with clutter, because let me tell you, when I was doing my restricted pack builds with the early access version of Enchanted by Nature, I was missing my kitchen clutter stuff. I was definitely missing it. So I was so happy that I had it now, and I could just finally clutter up my kitchens. Also use all those like little bins and jars and stuff to clutter up these empty shelves in these taller cabinets, which I still think is very strange that they don't slot anything. But thankfully I had my red shelf, or you don't really have to use the red shelf, by the way. That's a piece of custom content. These days we have a lot of other shelves that you can use for the same purpose the way I'm using that red shelf, but I think it's just out of habit that I still use it. I still have it in my game and I love that thing, so I just use it. But I think that shelves from high school years, but also from Dream Home Decorator, and I'm sure some other shelves from other packs also work really nicely for that purpose. But yeah, I was really happy that I was able to clutter up those empty shelves with a bunch of different clutter items, mostly from the kitchen clutter kit, I will say, because I was just having a lot of fun making this super like family oriented and just like cutesy and kind of messy in that sense. Also, one of my favorite items from Enchanted by Nature actually are those little wall shelves in the shape of mushrooms. Well, not in the shape of mushrooms. They're literally mushrooms growing out of the wall. And that's just the most whimsical, cutesy thing in the entire world. And it's just so fun, especially for this family home. It is the exact perfect thing that I just needed in the kitchen here. So I placed some mushrooms in the kitchen. I also placed a bunch of them on the wall in the apothecary room, actually, which was obviously also perfect in there. And you don't really even have, you can use them as shelves, but I don't really use them as shelves all the time because I just think that they look so gorgeous on their own, just as a little wall decoration. I did use one in the nursery and placed a little acorn nightlight on it, which I thought was so incredibly cute as well. Also in the kitchen by the table, I did end up placing a high chair because obviously we have an infant in this hypothetical household, and if you wanted to use this house for your own family gameplay, it would be nice to have. I will say, now that I think about it, I did forget to place a potty in this house. But I think that's okay because, you know, they're an infant still. So as soon as they become a toddler and you kind of have to redo their bedroom a little bit, that's where the potty will come in. I will say the nursery is, like I said, in the tower room and it's really small. So when that kid grows up, they're definitely going to have to move into the spare bedroom where, you know, the older sibling moved out of. I think that's what you're going to want to use anyway for the sibling or for the youngest sibling when they grow up, because that nursery room is really small. It's super cute for nursery, but it's not very practical when they get older and when they need a bigger bed. So there is that. And then here downstairs we have the final room that we're decorating here downstairs, which is the gemology room. And I just feel like the stuff from the gemology pack is just really, really pretty in here. It works so well. It looks very magical in itself too. I am completely spacing out on the name of that pack right now. I just cannot think of it for the life of me. We have so many packs these days. You're going to have to forgive me. I'm just going to call it the gemology pack. It's fine. But yeah, I do think that one of the parents, probably the spellcaster parent, is very much into gemology, and they sell like magical, like enchanted crystals, stuff like that, and also some really pretty, obviously like enchanted like jewelry and stuff like that. I think that would be so much fun. I didn't place a cauldron in this house. I know that that is the most spellcaster thing that we have in the game, but I didn't really place a cauldron. So I don't think they really do that kind of magic, no like potions and all those things, but they do gemology and like crystal and like more like earthy types of magic. They probably also like to do gardening. Maybe they have some like magical flowers and plants and stuff in the garden as well, that they can then also probably use for the apothecary stuff that goes on in this household as well. So yeah, all those things like kind of nature, magic, all those types of things is what I thought would be cute for this family. We have moved on to the second floor, so we have this landing right here, and I really like this landing. I ended up having a little bit of space here so I could decorate it, make a little seating area or a reading nook. I think this particular area would be really cute for a seance table. I only thought of that later when the house was already done, and I really liked this little seating area that I had created too much to delete it and place a seance table. But I do think if you wanted to add some more paranormal stuff in here, then that seance table, this would be the perfect spot for it on the landing here in this tiny square space that we have. I think that would be really pretty and just a really fun extra activity to have in the house as well. But I just turned it into a small seating area, and I placed a bookcase and just a little love seat to hang out. And then the first bedroom that we're decorating here is for the parents. I am obsessed with that purple color from the new pack. That darker, very rich purple tone I think is so insanely pretty. And I obviously had to use it in here. I combined it with dark brown and also just some more neutral tones. I really like the wallpaper as well, that like dark brown, like tan color. It has a little bit of green in it as well, which then ties back into the bed. So that was really fun to use in here. I also thought a vanity would be cute. They do have a built-in wardrobe here, so I figured we didn't really need another dresser or wardrobe. So I went for a vanity. I don't really use vanities all that often, so it was really nice to actually place one in here, and it really fit the vibes perfectly. So I had to decorate it a little bit, make it a little bit cutesy, with a few decorations. And then this room didn't actually end up being too big, but I feel like it feels very luxurious still, especially with that vanity. The vanity just adds so much to a room, like so much personality and just like, I don't know, maybe some luxury as well to it. And then they do share a Jack and Jill with their teenage child. And that's probably gonna cause a little bit of chaos is what I was thinking. But then the second bedroom that we're decorating is for the kid. And this one's a little different because it's very, very bright and just colorful. I love using that canopy over the bed. I will say it again, I think it's really strange that we got all sorts of beds in this new pack except for a single bed. We got a double bed, a crib for an infant, a toddler bed, but no single bed. It is so strange. Thankfully, we have this canopy that looks absolutely adorable when it comes to, like when you place it over top a single bed. I think that works really well. And I feel like this bed that I'm using from high school years works particularly well with not necessarily the color scheme, but definitely the style of the house in general. I used this same bed in a different swatch for the teenager's bedroom, like in the black swatch. So I feel like it's just a really nice style of bed that works nicely for, you know, the vibe that we're going for in this house. But here in the kids' room, I think the layout, the way I did the layout didn't make the most sense. It's not the most practical, but I think it looks cute. But I did end up having space for a few toys here. So they have a toy box and a Blarfy, and then for the rest, they just have some decorative toys sitting just on top of their dresser, and that little fairy bear on top of a cardboard unicorn, I think is what it is, from Growing Together, was the perfect toy in here. It's unfortunately not a functional toy, but it is like a fun decoration to have in there because it's fairy themed, and I just thought it was so cute. And then the next bedroom that we're doing in here is the teenager's room, and right off the bat you can tell this is moody. Like, I used black wallpaper. This wallpaper again is from the new pack, and I do like that it's not like fully black, but it has a little bit of green, like a tint of green to it as well, which makes it come to life a little bit more, and I just feel like it gives the space a little bit more character too. So that was really nice to use in here. But for the rest, I used mostly high school years items, except for this wardrobe. This wardrobe is from the movie Hangout pack. It's very boho in a way, but in that black swatch, it was absolutely perfect for this house. It just looks like a really old wardrobe that's been in the family for generations, and it just has the beautiful like flowers carved into it, and it just really makes a lot of sense. Not necessarily for this teenager, but definitely for the style of house. And then they got permission maybe to like paint it black or something to have it in their bedroom and make it fit a little bit better. So that's kind of what I was thinking. But here you can see that they have, you know, a nice seating area, or like just like not necessarily seating area, but just a beanbag and a guitar. They also have a desk to sit and do their homework. I used a bunch of high school years items in here, and also this desk. It just works so well. And then that chair I thought was a bit of fun. It does have bright pink legs, but I feel like, you know, it's a fun touch to have. It doesn't really make any sense with the house, but I feel like it's a fun touch to have. And then the rug in here was also perfect. That's actually my favorite swatch from this rug. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. The black with the flowers. It is chef's kiss, so pretty. I did have a little bit of roof clipping through the wall in this room because I'm using a round roof. And yeah, that was not really working with me. So I did have a little bit of roof clipping into the bedroom, but I think I did a great job hiding it behind like a dresser or like wardrobe thing. And then I hid it with a gnome and a Grim Reaper toy that I sized up, and I feel like it's not perfect, but it works, you know? And then here in the round tower room is where we have that nursery, and I had to use that gorgeous wallpaper from the new pack in here. I think it's absolutely stunning. And then here I placed that really cute crib, and then also a couple of those mushroom shelves, and like I said, I placed that acorn nightlight in here as well. I didn't really have a lot of space for a dresser in here, but that's when I decided to use this clothing rack from the new pack. And then we have that really pretty, or like those really tiny baby clothes from the Storybook Nursery kit actually, and you can hang those on the clothes rack, and it looks so cute because the clothes are so tiny on that gigantic rack. So it was kind of fun to have it sit there, and it just looks so fun and so cute. And then here, the final bedroom that we're doing is actually the one for the oldest sibling that has moved out to Wings Club Special Fairy College, you know. So that's where they're off to. And then this used to be their bedroom. You can kind of tell like by the furniture what the style of this room used to be. But, you know, they have moved out, and they probably took most of their stuff too. So there's definitely still some boxes in here and just some random items and a little bit of storage. But that's it for that bedroom. And then here I did decorate the Jack and Jill on camera. We do have another bedroom, we do have another bathroom, a hall bathroom for here upstairs as well for this house, but I didn't necessarily keep that one in the video, but I did keep this one because it's a little bit bigger than I normally make my bathrooms. And I was using the Realm of Magic counters and the Realm of Magic toilet in here, and then the shower tub combo I think is from Vampires. So definitely a little bit of a different bathroom style that I normally go for, but it was kind of fun. Like, it's very nice and spacious. It feels kind of luxurious in that sense. We have some counter space. And then, yeah, I'm just placing the final few decorations here on the back porch, just a little bench and an outdoor trash can that I had struggles to find the right place for. But yeah, then that is basically it. So let's jump into the game and I'll show you the house in real time. So here we have the house in the game. It's actually on a 30 by 30 lot. I was a little bit dramatic earlier. I think I said I thought it was a 50 by 50, but it's only a 30 by 30. But I feel like it looks really cute here though. This is in that Spruceberry Grove neighborhood that's a little bit more foresty and apothecary inspired, I guess. Very whimsical, and I really like this lot. And I feel like this house fits on here really, really nicely. So here in the back is where we have some chickens and also a little market table. I thought that would be nice to have for the gemology sim to like sell their creations on here maybe. There's also a charging pad thingy for the crystals and jewelry, of course. And then in the back here is where we have the garden. I did plant some things here in the garden. These are the crops from cottage living that I placed in here, and then we also have some bee boxes. There is a little bit of gardening going on out here as well with some of these. They're actually indoor plants, but I do think they look really cute outside as well. And then we just have this really cute pond. Oop, there's a bunny. There's a little bunny just hopping around here as well. So cute. And then of course here we have the front of the lot. I did have to place a bunch of gnomes because this is Enchanted by Nature, so we gotta have the gnomes. I just hid a few of them here in the landscaping. I think that is really fun. And then here we have the front door. We have the tiniest front porch, so I didn't really end up placing anything on here. But here you can get a better look at the floor plan. So we have an entryway right here, and then the floor plan is pretty closed off actually for the most part. But this sunroom is open, so when you first walk into the house, we just have some entryway items, a dresser, a coat rack, and actually the first room on your right is going to be the apothecary office. So there's a small desk in here with the flower press item, and then the apothecary table, of course, a bunch of mushrooms on the wall and some storage right here against the wall as well, and just a few clutter items. But then the hallway actually opens into this really luxurious looking sunroom right here where we have a piano and an easel. So we have some fun hobbies, also some art storage over here. And I have this weird nook here where I just placed a built-in wardrobe because it closed off the space nicely. By the stairs, we have some more plants going on here. And then there's an archway into the gemology room. I really like the combination of colors in here. So we have the gemology table and then just a bunch of appropriate decorations in here as well that fit the theme of this room. Then going back into the hallway and going through this arch, this is where we have the living and dining. We have some rounded walls in here as well, so I was definitely kind of having difficulties furnishing this, but I do think this layout makes sense. We don't have a TV in the house, so I didn't really have to have a couch facing a TV or whatever. We do have a cute fireplace in here with some decorations, and it's just like a really cute conversation area, I want to say. People like to read in this household as well. We just have some random book stacks and a lot of bookcases too. And then over here we have a 6-seater dining table, and those are some more of those bookcases that I was talking about. I also really like this record player. I think this is from the Secret Sanctuary kit, and it just really fits the theme. Over here is the back door leading you onto the little back porch and into the backyard. But then here we have a really cool shelf actually from Realm of Magic that I thought was super fitting in here. We have some of those orbs and then just some decorations here on the other side as well. Attached to the living and dining, we have the kitchen over here, and she is definitely cluttered. I did leave this countertop free of clutter so you can use it for cooking, but for the rest, I definitely use some clutter in here. So we have some kitchen clutter around the sink. We also have some clutter here on this island table, I want to say. There is a high chair for the little one here, and then over here is where we have some more storage and also some appliances. And in the back is where we have a little breakfast nook. I think this looks so cozy. I would sit here and just have my coffee all the time, I feel. And off of the dining room here is where we have a little half bath where I'm using the plumbing from Realm of Magic, and I never used this stuff, so it was really fun to finally use it again. Then going upstairs, this is where we have our 5 bedrooms. But first off, of course, the landing. This space right here is very small and narrow, so I didn't really have a lot of space for decorations here. But then over here is a little lounge area, or reading area, I should say, with a few bookcases as well. But going back over to this side here, the very first door leads you into the parents' room. This bedroom I didn't make too cluttered. I wanted it to feel kind of neat, and it's already already pretty busy looking with a bunch of different colors and patterns, so I didn't want to go too crazy. But I do love these lights here that I used from For Rent. I feel like the purple ties really nicely into the bed, so that was a really fun find. And also these curtains from Businesses and Hobbies that I used all throughout the house really just work surprisingly well. Then over here we have a vanity with some knickknacks and a built-in wardrobe as well. Over here in the back is where we have the oldest sibling's bedroom that has moved out, so this bedroom is fairly unused, but I feel like they're gonna just decorate this for their youngest sibling when they get a little older. So that's a pretty simple one. The next bedroom over here, actually, the door is over on this side. This one's the kids' room, and I love the bright colors in here. It's a little bit of a mismatched color scheme, which I just love to do for kids' rooms. I feel like it's realistic. So they have their bed with that really pretty canopy, and then a nice play area over here in the corner. Some storage here by the door, and I really like this little collage that I created from the flower press art with the googly eyes. It is so adorable. In between these bedrooms here is where we have a hall bath. It's very simple, but it's nice to have. And then this room over here in the tower, of course, is the nursery. So there's a changing table in here, and then that really pretty crib. And then look at those tiny little clothes on that gigantic clothes rack. It is so fun. I just feel like it's the cutest thing in the world. And across from the nursery is the moody teens bedroom. This one's all of a sudden very dark and gloomy, but I really like the vibes in here. They have that really fun death frock from the Life and Death expansion pack. And then this is my corner where I try to hide this piece of clipping roof that you can kind of see in the back there. So I feel like I did a pretty good job hiding that. And then they have a desk with some clutter on it, of course, and an area where they can sit and play some guitar as well. And then in between these rooms is where we have the Jack and Jill. So this one's nice and whimsical with some counters from Realm of Magic with a little bit of clutter, and then a shower tub combo here in the back. But that is actually it for this build. So this whimsical family home is up on the gallery. As you can see, I used a bunch of packs. I did not hold back. It's also pretty expensive. It comes in at just over 130,000 simoleons, and I built it on a 30 by 30 in the world of Innisgreen in the Spruceberry Grove neighborhood. So if you want to place it in your game, then that's where it goes. But that's gonna do it for today's video, so I really hope that you enjoyed this one. You can obviously go ahead and download this build off the gallery, like I just showed you. My username on the gallery is Simmery Sims. You can also follow me on Instagram if you like. My username on there is Simmery Sims as well. If you're not subscribed to my channel already, feel free to do so, and if you'd like to get notified every single time I upload, just click that little bell icon. I also live stream over on Twitch a few times a week, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and give me a follow over on twitch.tv/Simmery Sims. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!